joined by Esther Krakue, the TalkTV contributor and associate editor of Daily Mirror, Kevin Maguire. You've been waiting very patiently watching these two big interviews. Esther, Sadiq Khan.
Yes.
He attracts equal amounts of loathing and love. He's obviously been re-elected. He probably will win again, judging by the candidate put up against him. What do you make of that interview?
I was very surprised. I went into that interview wanting to throw eggs at him over ULEZ. I still kind of do. But he was very polished. He seemed very sincere. And the thing is, you can understand his appeal. I've often made comparisons between him and Suella Braverman because I think they're two terrible politicians. But actually, I think he needs to do more interviews in this style because it makes him seem more genuine and more likable in ways that Suella Braverman just isn't. He's not as unappealing and as repelling as she is.
I mean, I think, Kevin, with him, that I having personally discovered that pollution was really impacting my health and doing something about it and it working and it was cleaner air, I'm pretty wedded to this idea we need better quality of air.
Yeah.
It's how he's doing it seems to be divisive because it does seem to be the poor elements of society in London that are having to pay because they can't afford to make the transition to the new, more expensive cars. Yeah. And that is the problem he's got to get over.
All the poorest in London don't have cars, they use public transport. But the fact is he's doing something.
Yeah.
And he is a politician who's doing it. Now, charging is crude. So I'm normally hostile to it, but you can't carry on with dirty air in London. And it is a very polluted city.
One of the things I found difficult to square with that policy is because of the MOT emissions tests that were updated in 2018 and will probably be updated in the next couple of years. You know, he actually could have realistically waited a couple of years before he implemented
I think he has to. I think he'll have to
what-
adapt it, but I do think I think his heart is in the right place on it.
Yeah,
and I think that's why probably the polls are divided because I think people think, well, he's right about. It's like the eco guys with throwing the paint around. If they didn't do that, I'd be more supportive.
Because I remember the opposition. He mentioned it, Sadiq Khan mentioned it, to ULEZ in central London, and then most people realise they don't pay it.
Yeah.
Most cars are compliant.
Yeah.
In outer London, most people are going to realise their cars are compliant. If you've got a car that isn't compliant and you're going to have to pay the charge, it's generally a diesel more than 8 years or a petrol over 16 years.
Yeah,
There's
exactly.
very few cars.